Come with me, Jake Turner, as I travel the back roads talking with your neighbors and crop experts about best practices in weed control in soybeans. All you need is a minute, an Authority Minute. In this episode of Authority Minute, we're visiting Lone Oak, Arkansas to talk with Dr. Bob Scott, University of Arkansas Extension weed scientist, about how using a strong pre-plant burn-down program can start your season off on the right foot by combating existing pressure and tough resistant weeds.
How you doing, Jake?
Doing great. Thanks for talking with us today.
No problem.
So, when we talk about burn-down, folks in Arkansas may think of a burn-down program one way, in Ohio another way. Give us a general description of a burn-down program.
Okay, in general, you know what a burn-down program means is it's simply that farmer wants to eliminate all the vegetation that's out there in the way of him getting a crop in. He's got a plant, and he needs a nice clean seed bed for those seedlings to come up in. Now,
some growers are already planning to do 2 post applications, and when you talk about a pre-plant burn down, they balk at the added expense. What would you say to growers that think that way?
Well, for us in Arkansas, it's not an added expense anymore. I mean, it's something that we have to do because of the resistance problems that we have. But some of the advantages that we see to using that to that burn down, especially plus a residual, is that it'll buy us some weeks of weed-free, competition. The crop is clean. Sometimes we eliminate that second post application. So there are some benefits, not just expenses, to using a burn down with a residual.
So what would you say to a grower's got a mare's tail or a palmer pigweed or other broadleaf weed issue, and they want to use a pre-plant burn down tank mix to address it? What would you recommend?
Well, we like to recommend a residual such as Authority MTZ that has 2 effective modes of action against our most troublesome weeds.
So when we're talking about these pre-plant burn down programs, can they be used with both Roundup Ready and Liberty Link soybean?
Yes, I mean, here in Arkansas, we have a very diversified soybean production. We're probably about 20% Liberty Link last year, mostly Roundup Ready soybeans, and then we have a few conventional or food grade type beans, edible beans. And across the board, we recommend a residual with all of those technologies. It just makes it that much easier, that much more effective. Sure, the Liberty Link soybeans are the new technology for us, but we learned our lesson with glyphosate and using only glyphosate systems, and we're not going to go there with Liberty Link.
Do you have an example of a field that needs a burn down program?
Sure, if you got time, we'll go look at one right now.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's go.
Bob, I asked you for a field that needed a burn down, and with all these winter annuals, you gave me one, didn't you?
Certainly ready for it.
So the weather's great today. What are the optimal conditions for efficacy?
Well, you said it. I mean, today's a great day to be putting out a burn down application. We like those temperatures to be above 50 degrees during the day, not below 40 at night. Really, we want these weeds to be green and actively growing like they are now, so they'll take up that herbicide and really give it a chance to work.
Now, I see we got a pretty much conventional tillage situation here. Does this work for both no-till and conventional tillage programs?
Sure. We recommend residual in no-till as well as in conventional till. In fact, we couldn't have no-till without, residual herbicides for sure. I mean, they rely very heavily on it.
Well, looking on to next year, what kind of carryover concerns are there?
With some herbicides, we do have carryover concerns. I mean, there are some out there that if you use them pre-emerge in your soybeans, you may not be able to plant rice or grain sorghum or something like that coming back the next year. With Authority MTZ, for example, you can come back and plant anything. There aren't any carryover concerns with that product.
I know some growers are talking about overlapping their pre's. What do you think about that mindset?
Right, so we're pretty early in the year here. This time of year, we're probably still 30, maybe 40 days away from planting out here in this field, for example. We'll go ahead and put a residual in with this burn down. We want to keep that field clean all the way up until planting time. And then at planting time, we're going to put another residual out. And that's where that overlapping concept or term comes from. And so the idea there is to just never let any of these weeds emerge to begin with.
How long can a grower expect an application to lay out there and still be effective?
Well, Authority MTZ, for example, is a very stable compound. I mean, it's not broken down in sunlight, so it'll lay out there for several days and wait on a rainfall for activation.
How important is it to start clean to measure how effective your weed management program is.
If we don't get a good, effective burn down program out with a residual component in it, you're really starting, you know, behind the curve to begin with, because you have bigger weeds, more mature weeds, they're more difficult to control, and you've got this small crop trying to come up in there. So it's really the key to the whole thing, getting off to the right start.
Well, we've learned a lot about burn down programs today, Bob. Thanks so much.
No problem.
As Dr. Bob told us, a pre-plant application, including a burn down to take care of all these weeds you see here, along with the pre with strong residual activity and multiple modes of action, is critical to reach our goal of starting clean and staying clean. Hey, come on back to authorityminute.com to see all the episodes. And make sure to leave your comments and questions. We love to read them. We love to answer them. It only takes a minute, an Authority Minute. Hey, Bob, is that barbecue ready you talked about?
I think it is.
Let's get going.